Hello and welcome to My Left Ear. I'm Carrie Freeman, the writer, producer, director of My Left Ear. This is a liberal YouTube channel. All summer we were devoted to getting Kamala Harris elected, and it's been crushing to most of us that are subscribed here and watch and are hanging with me. My Left Ear is about my left ear, which is intuitive, and this is video 238, and it is December 4th, 24. So let me mention something about numerology before I get started. I am going to cover master numbers 11 and 22 in my next My Left Ear. Many people wrote and came up with those numbers and seemed to be a little confused, so I want to establish a better understanding of those numbers before I move on. So I wanted to let you know that. But years ago, about numerology, years ago, my parents came out to visit me, and they said, oh, we have to introduce you to our friend Mesa. And Mesa is like you, Carrie. She likes all this mystical stuff and blah, blah, blah. So they brought me over to meet this elderly woman named Mesa with red hair. She was just adorable. We kind of fell in love with each other right away. And she had written a book, and I checked today, and it's out of print. So I'm really lucky. It's called Timing Your Future with Numerology by Mesa West. And so she got me started on it. That's how it happened. And she, at that time, had a friend named Michael who was like really a master of this. And she paid him to do a reading on my numbers without meeting me. Well, his reading was like incredibly accurate without meeting me, just by the numbers. So that was pretty darn interesting. But here's just a short excerpt from Mesa's book. And this is really short. She wrote, authorities on numbers believe that the occurrence of 11 and 22 in a name or birth date indicate old souls. So if that's you or your children or your mate, old souls. But it's a caution that you do not automatically have it made with those numbers. You must put forth the work, the effort, and the homework to bring your life to that ascended old soul place. It's not an automatic. And then also, which I'll get into a little bit more, it's going to sound confusing right now probably, but as I had said before, when you get an 11 or a 22, you don't add those together. Like if you come up with an 11 year or a 22 birth path, you don't add those together. But in some calculations, you do add those numbers together, and I'll get into that a little bit more tomorrow. Now, as I have mentioned before, I don't talk too much about outside the United States, and frankly, it's because I don't feel that I know enough. I'm just being very, very honest with you. So I don't want to sound like I know what I'm talking about when I'm not sure what I'm talking about, and I don't know some of the history of these places that are in deep trouble. But I was asked about South Korea. I did a little poking around, and I'll just share this briefly with you. I had to re-educate myself about what is martial law. And so I just want to share this with you because I may not be the only one who cannot just off the top of my head explain martial law. Martial law is the replacement of civilian government by military rule and the suspension of civilian legal processes for military powers. Martial law can continue for a specified amount of time or indefinitely, which is probably what Donald Trump would like. In which case standard civil liberties may be suspended for as long as the martial law continues. That's pretty scary. So the AP reports South Korea's opposition parties moved on Wednesday to impeach the president over the shocking and short-lived declaration of martial law that drew heavily armed troops to encircle the parliament before lawmakers climbed walls to re-enter the building and unanimously vote to lift his order. So this was mayhem. So impeaching Yoon Suk, Y-E-O-L, so I'm not sure, Yeol, would require the support of 2/3 of parliament, at least 6 justices of the 9-member constitutional court would have to endorse removing him. So the motion to impeach, submitted jointly by the main liberal opposition Democratic Party, could put to a vote as early as Friday. And the last piece of this is just something I read on Twitter that somebody wrote, and I think it sums it up. This person wrote, South Korea will prove my argument that it is a million times harder to stop a dictator after they take office than it is to prevent them from taking office. So that's pretty scary, because we have a dictator that's scheduled to take office in a little more than 20 days. So that's that. And it's very confusing. It feels like it doesn't bode well for the U.S., but we got to wait and see. And maybe you have heard like more about this, and go for it, because that's as good as I can do right now, but I wanted to talk about it. And I didn't read runes today. You know, I'm taking a little bit of a break because of the trauma that I experienced on November 5th. So I'm just kind of being easy with myself and, you know, finding my way gently in and using this format to just talk about what I want to talk about and make it a little more creative right now. I will get back to the runes, but I'm just honoring this place in myself to just step back a little bit and take a teeny break. So I have very bizarre sleep pattern right now. And I'm up in the middle of the night. 2 nights ago, I was up at 2:30. I got up and I had some hot chocolate, then I had a little coffee. I was on the internet. I think I watched some Dateline, and then I went back to sleep at 6 a.m. Now that's not healthy, but this is the truth right now. And I try not to take any sleep aids. I've never had a history of taking sleep aids. And once in a while I will. I'll take an Advil PM or maybe something else. And then this morning I was up at 4 and I haven't gone back to sleep. I feel I have energy right now. Sometimes I don't go back to sleep. Isn't that crazy? But 2 nights ago, I'm up at like 4:15 a.m. and I started to have this stream of consciousness. And so my left ear said, why don't you grab a pen and just start doing some automatic writing? This is kind of interesting, what's coming out of you. So I did that, and then I went back and I kind of cleaned it up a little bit, not too much. I didn't do a huge polish on it, as they say in writing. So I'm just going to share it with you, and I think I'm going to post it on Twitter and Blue Skies, because now I'm on this Democratic Twitter that's not created by Elmo, and it's much nicer there. So I'm building up my audience and reading a lot. So I think I might post this. It's bold, okay? It's bold, it's my opinion, and let's see what you think. So here's what I wrote. And remember, it's a stream of consciousness in the middle of the night. Do I care about politics? I'm caring less about what I can't control. That's the truth. In fact, what I cannot control is a 12-step principle. Accepting what I cannot control is a 12-step principle. And Hunter Biden knows all about the serenity prayer. That said, Hunter's pardon is almost a non-story. You heard me right. It's a non-story. Because most people with similar charges do not go to prison. They pay a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. They don't go to prison. It was political. In addition, they are not publicly humiliated. These people that have done tax things and fraudulent things, they are not publicly humiliated or shamed. But most individuals with such charges do not have a bleached, blonde bitch congresswoman on steroids display photos of their genitalia to Congress. Right? Remember when Marjorie did that? All right, we go on. And because the Republican Party has morphed into HBO's Deadwood series about the famous mining town in Deadwood, South Dakota that welcomed thieves, murderers, cons, and abusers, none of the Republicans have any credibility. Deadwood's real historical tyrant and pimp, Al Swearingen, who ran the Gem Saloon and ruled the whole town with fear, violence, and murder, was just like Donald Trump, except Al had some charisma. And Al Swearingen, who was brilliantly played on the series, was a real character in Deadwood. Not every character on the show was real, but quite a few of them were historically accurate. So going forward about Donald Trump being like, the sheriff of Deadwood, the Republicans, by kissing Donald's, and I'm about to maybe offend somebody, but I wrote this, by kissing Donald's solid gold nipple ring, a gift from Putin, you get the picture. The GOP have relinquished their personalities, their ethics, if they had them at all, seriousness, credibility, and public forum. In other words, Republicans have become a punch line. One exception, however, is that the Republican Party represents a daily stream of gifts to Jimmy Kimmel's writing room and brilliant writers. True. And those talented writers have little work to do. I mean, all they have to do is turn on the news and the comedy writes itself. Jimmy Kimmel is a master of the monologue, as are these other late night guys. So the clown car of Trump, Musk, Putin, and the Republicans are late night fodder, and they're very fertile soil for Emmy nominations. And I want to say, way to go, Mr. Fallon, Mr. Kimmel, Mr. Myers, Colbert, The Daily Show, and John Oliver. Fist pump to you guys. You are brilliant. And now, once again, I'm going to remind you, this is what I call Opinions Unlimited. And it's on a stream. I stream this in the middle of the night. And that's a little bit more. Media is making Hunter's pardon a big story, focusing seriously on what Republicans are saying and thinking. It's astonishing, but it's not astonishing at all. But I'm screaming about it. Right here, right now, the boom of Hunter Biden is pardon stories are off the charts. Every day, every show, all kinds of opinions, what Joe Biden did wrong, what he shouldn't have done, how it's going to follow him for the rest of his life and his legacy. No, it's not. But fully displaying the stupidity of 98% of the media. Now, sometimes the obvious needs to be restated. The media is part of the massive gaslighting. And I'm going to repeat that. The media is part of the massive gaslighting. And by holding everyone else accountable, but not holding all Trump crimes up to a Klieg light for examination, because the truth is suffocating in the quicksand of illegality. And a Klieg light are those giant lights that they put up for movie openings that, you know, like go all over the sky and are huge. So that's what a Klieg light is, if you didn't know. Donald J. Trump, the most prolific criminal in recent history, remains free. Trump's numerous crimes against the United States should boldly upstage Hunter Biden's pardons. But they don't, because the media won't budge. It's the bleepin' media. That's the rant. That's the last line of the rant. It's the bleepin' media. So I hope you enjoyed that. Very rough. Like I said, I didn't go in and do a big polish and rewrite. I just kind of let it fly and corrected a few things. So we'll see. If I post it, we'll see what I get back. I'm feeling like making good trouble, actually. Thank you, John Lewis. So here's a quote, and it was in the New York Times in 1962. And the quote says, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until you face it." And that quote was by James Baldwin, who lived from 1924 to 1987, and he was an award-winning author, essayist, and playwright. Very famous man. Now I'm going to go on a little bit because this Martha Beck article that I shared with you a few weeks ago, I went back to the first phase of transformation that she talks about, and that one is called dissolving. And she said, dissolving isn't something you do. It's something that happens to you. And it's akin to death and rebirth. So she said, the first phase of change is the scariest. Forgive me if I'm repeating this, I just think it's very important, especially right now. The first phase of change is the scariest, especially because we aren't taught to expect it. It's the time when we lose our identity and are left temporarily formless. We're a formless person, and we're people soup. Like right now, I'm people soup. I'm just soup. It doesn't look like it, but I'm soup. I'm formless right now. Most people fight like crazy to keep their identities from dissolving, and I can feel that fight. This is very challenging, by the way. But Martha advises the closest you'll come to controlling it is relaxing and trusting the process, the hardest thing to do. Martha Beck, which she wrote, is like one of my all-time favorite pieces. So now we're going on to good evidence. Now, I don't have the exact numbers, okay? I don't think they even have them yet. However, the House of Representatives, Congress, is very close to being in a tie because of these late counts and winning seats in districts in California. Yes. And House Speaker Moses Pervert Little Johnson is almost bootstrapped now. He doesn't have the power that he really needs. And Lisa Murkowski, GOP, there's a rumor that she's thinking of leaving the party. So GOP power in the House is hanging by a thread, which is very good for the Democrats. It can slow down the damage that Trump intends to do. And we're like a hair away from having Hakeem Jeffries as the speaker, and we will eventually. So along those lines, here's my left ear's fantasy that 2 GOP reps from the House quit the party. Just like there were some states where Democrats quit and joined the GOP, which was maddening. I can't remember the states. So my fantasy is that 2 GOP reps quit the party and become Democrats. And that would have the House belong to the Democrats, most likely. So this is just out of the Republican playbook. They already did this, okay? So that's that for now. It's good to see you. Had a good Thanksgiving, but I touched the hot roasting pan and I got a little gift. Can you see that? Right now I have some Aquaphor on it. It was just a moment, but I couldn't believe what it turned into. So now it's just gonna peel off at some point. So that was my gift for Thanksgiving. Other than that, everything else was good, and I hope yours was too. I will see you soon, and thanks for hanging in with me and with the soup phase. I'd love to hear about any of you are in the soup phase. Just going to remind you here by scrolling that soup phase is the formless phase, and it is dissolving. So let me know if any of you are dissolving. It's very challenging. So peace and love, be kind, and make good memories. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.